All right, Cale, what is going on, my man? Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Jonathan. Appreciate it.
I feel like you have one of the best reputations or brands on Facebook. When I made a few posts saying who should I have on my podcast or who's like the guy or just gives a ton of value, like your name came up a bunch of times. So I guess if you could maybe just kick off giving our audience a background on who you are, what your business is, and what you do. I know it's a very broad question to start with, but what you do and what your role in the business is always fun to start with.
Sure. Well, I appreciate that, and it sounds like I owe a lot of people a referral fee, so I'm gonna be out of money here, but but no, that's great to hear. So yeah, I am short-term rental owner and manager, basically. So I'd gotten started in the real estate world about 4 or 5 years ago. Um, right in the midst of when had started. I was looking for a transition out of my career at that time, which was construction management, which I've been doing for I think about 16 years or so at that time, and so a lot of things just coincided. I was kind of burnt out from that career. COVID was going on. My youngest son had just been born, and so it's just started getting me reflecting and thinking about the future a lot more, and not wanting to continue along the path that I was on, at least. And so went down the real estate rabbit hole, stops and starts. Eventually landed on short-term rentals, and the market that I had initially and invested in the most, which is the Smoky Mountains in Tennessee, and really just jumped in. Did a lot of research on the front end, and then visited the market. And within about, I think it was less than a month after visiting the market, we were under contract on the first property, and bought three more that first year, and continued to scale that second year. Replaced that income from the W-2 job, and left that around the end of 22. And so since then, I've been full time, and we started out with the intent of just growing the personal portfolio. So we continued just buying in the Smoky Mountains. We had a couple properties in South Florida as well, which is where I live. And then just kind of organically, people started coming to me and asking about managing their properties, and so we added on the co-hosting branch, or the arm of the business, in towards the end of 2023, I think it was. And just organically have grown that through word of mouth. And then last year, along a similar path, we added on an arm for the short-term rental revenue management, as well as coaching and consulting. So that's kind of what we do now. So just focusing on still continuing to build the portfolio, but also building out the co-hosting and revenue management arms as well.
You mentioned a few times we. Do you mind just giving a context on if you have a partner, employees, what your team looks like, how that sort of functions?
Yeah. So for a long time, up until relatively recently, we meant me. And I learned, it's funny, when so I mentioned I worked construction management for many, many years, and yeah, I have an engineering background. So I worked with lots of contractors, lots of engineers, and this is kind of a side tangent, but the engineers oftentimes are smaller outfits. Sometimes it's just the owner themselves that run the little engineering shop. And someone told me at one time that no matter how big or small you are, always say we, not I or me. So I guess that stuck. But for a long time it was just me. And around the middle of last year, around the summertime or so, I started hiring on the virtual assistant teams. And so we've kind of added that into the mix now. So we do have a handful of offshores virtual assistants that are helping handle the day-to-day operations. And then of course our boots on the ground teams are 1099s with contractors and vendors and cleaners and all that stuff.
Gotcha. Okay. And how do you, I guess, with multiple businesses right now, what do you look at as like your main role spanning the businesses? Are you kind of like overseeing the operations, or are you in the day to day with any of them, or more than others? What does that look like?
Yeah, I mean, it's a little bit of both. I mean, the intent and the path is to, be more of the CEO, right? And just, um, start looking towards the bigger picture and focusing more on the acquisitions. It's not quite that point yet, as we're continuing to build up and onboard the team. So right now, yeah, I still am overseeing kind of a managerial role, the team. And the day to day, I've, here and there, I'll get in more so just when issues come up. But for the most part, the team is now handling the majority of the day to day. So, it's more so kind of just overseeing. But yeah, the intent and the path is to kind of even get out of that role and just focus on the expansion.
Gotcha. And we kind of just jumped in, but you mind explaining for context, just like across the businesses, either like unit count or maybe revenue, top line, just so the audience has context, I guess, in what your business looks like.
Sure. Yeah, so we own currently uh, it's, 13 short-term rentals. We do have was it 4 long-term rentals as well, um, from when we very first started. But yeah, we have 13 short-term rentals that we own, and then we have another uh, 7 that we manage at this point. And so our top line revenue is roughly, um, let's see, so we just added on, what, 2 clients this year. So we'll go with the 18 properties total that we had last year, but our revenue there was around 1.7 million gross.
Awesome. That's great.
Yeah.
And something that I'm always curious about with business owners or, people that expand their businesses to have different arms vertically, or is it only something that you provide for current customers of the other businesses? Or let's say for like the rev management. I think that's a really cool niche right now and a way to like stand out, especially in the co-hosting space. Is
Hmm.
that something you only offer for co-hosting clients or like a different part of your business, or can someone just work with you for like rev management on their properties?
Yeah, no, we offer that to anyone. So we offer it as a standalone service that we can provide. So, of course, our full service co-hosting, that includes the revenue management. But, it kind of just came about, like I said, organically. A lot of people, asking for help on pricing and especially, 2024, we were seeing it with our portfolio and just seeing it within the networks that we're in, that there's a lot more of a challenge with kind of optimizing the pricing strategies and the revenue, and it just required a lot more active input than it used to, and so a lot of people were struggling with that, and so we decided to start offering that service, because a lot of people just don't have the time or the wherewithal or the desire to put in the time and effort that it really takes at this point to optimize your revenue.
Can we talk about that a little bit more? I think that's something that a lot of people might be maybe in a surprise phase with coming to 2025, where maybe for a long time you could just list a property on Airbnb, maybe go in and tweak the pricing a little bit on Price Labs, or I don't know, just fiddle around with it and you'd stay booked. But
Right.
it seems like things are different now. So maybe could you just explain like what you do or think about when you first come into someone's property, and like what maybe you've seen as some knobs you can turn that have made a difference, or where you like to focus
Hmm.
on the rev management for yourself or for clients?
Yeah, yeah. So there's a lot of variabilities with it, but the first and foremost thing when we are talking with a potential client or onboarding a client is setting the expectations, right? So we want to understand, number one, what has the historical revenue been? Number two, what is your expectation as the owner of what the revenue should be? And number three, what is our professional estimation of what it should be? And we want to make sure that we and the client are aligned in, you know, a reasonable estimate. Sometimes you may have an owner that just thinks their property should be generating, astronomical numbers. That is not realistic. And if that's the case, we either need to come back down to earth, or it's not it's not somebody we want to work with. We want everybody to be happy, and so if somebody has unrealistic expectations that we can't perform on, then it's not going to work out. So that's the first and foremost, is getting aligned with the expectations of what's realistic. And I just encourage everyone out there, whether it's revenue management or co-hosting, if you are looking for somebody that's going to provide that service, do some research yourself so you can understand as the owner what is realistic as well. Because I will just say that sometimes people can give you inflated estimates just to get you to sign a contract, right? And they make money and you may not. It's just the way things can be sometimes. So I just encourage people to understand a little bit as to what is realistic when they're getting into things, so they can make educated decisions as well when they're signing up with somebody. But after that point, when we bring the client on board, we're going to look at first in doing a deep dive into the property and the listing. So we don't just start with, okay, we're going to look at your pricing, that's and KPIs and all these things. That's it. We're going to first take a deep dive into the listing itself. We're going to make sure that your property and your listing is optimized. We're going to look at the property itself and give you any suggestions of strategic investments that have high ROI that you could do to improve the revenue. Whether or not the owner acts on those or not is up to them. But that's just part of the additional service that we provide, is doing that deep dive and giving them as much tools to, on the front end, potentially boost their revenue in the first place. From there, then, we're going to dig into creating a custom pricing strategy for them. And so that's going to require, of course, diving into the market knowledge. And, there's lots of ways to do that, but, we're going to dive in based on the expectations and the alignments that we've already set up and talked about. We're going to go in, and we use Price Labs, but we're going to go in, integrate things with Price Labs, and set up that custom pricing strategy. And, initially, and this depends a little bit, but I mean, if the property is severely underperforming, then, we're going to have to go in and pull a lot more levers. So initially there's going to be a more heavy ramp up phase if you have a severely underperforming property, meaning, you're going to have to be, you're probably going to have to, price on the lower end of what your range is going to be just to get that momentum back. You're going to have to be more flexible on a lot of the settings, perhaps, just to get some foot traffic and momentum and start driving in those reviews and getting the rankings higher on the platform. Once we kind of feel comfortable that we've gotten a bit of that momentum, then we're going to start tightening up the ship, pulling back on some of these levers, and eventually get to what we call the sweet spot, where that's where we want to be, in that nice sweet spot between revenue and occupancy, and on track with what the revenue estimate goals are. And within that, there's lots of nuances as to what levers you can pull, right? Price, of course, is a big one, but that's not always the first one that we want to jump to. You want to dive into all the various settings that you have within Price Labs, or whatever pricing software you use. So the seasonality profiles, the occupancy profiles, the minimum night stay settings. I mean, these are all going to be some of the top ones that you're going to look at. You want to look at in that market. What are the booking lead times? And that's going to be, again, one of the KPIs that you're going to track as you're starting and going through that ramp up phase, as to, okay, we want to get that momentum to the point where we start getting those bookings into that average booking lead time. And then that's going to be a good indicator that, okay, you're getting to that sweet spot, that happy medium. Within the listings themselves, there's some tools you can pull, or the platforms themselves, I should say. The cancellation policies, those, can have a pretty significant impact on driving the traffic to your listings. So, again, if you have a severely underperforming property, that's one of the levers that we probably would start pulling, is, loosen up that cancellation policy as much as possible until we start driving that momentum, and then we start tightening it up again. Some other things that we do, are upsells. for additional nights, whether before or after, early or late check-in, pet fees. We're very encouraging on pet fees, as long as there's no strong reason that the owner may not want to do it. We highly encourage. That can be a really big revenue driver. And so yeah, in a nutshell, those are some of the things that we're going to do. But essentially, we're going to be touching the property on a daily basis in some degree. Whether that's just a review of the KPIs, making sure we're on track, or making adjustments and tweaks as we need to get to where we want to be.
Is there anything that stands out as like biggest mistakes people make, or yeah, just common mistakes that when you look at people's properties as a new client or you see from afar, it's like you just roll your eyes or shake your head, or like they could be doing that so much better?
Yeah, well, and there's, as I'm sure there's such a variety of levels of sophistication of owners and hosts, right? I mean, so, we've had all spectrums. People who, really have no clue what they're doing, and I mean, they don't even have professional photos, and just kind of a thrown together listing, which, it's, that's out there. Or, one thing, even with people who, really understand the management and listing and stuff like that, if they're newer, we oftentimes see either, severe overpricing or severe underpricing. Or even, being way too restrictive on their minimum night settings. I think that's probably actually, now that I think about it, that's probably one of the more common things that I see is people being over restrictive on minimum night stay settings. It's obviously going to be market dependent and even property dependent, depending on the size property you can have, that's going to adjust your settings a bit. But, it's unless there's some regulation requiring it, if you're having 5 to 7 night minimum stay requirements within a 30-day booking window, that's probably not going to be the most conducive to to driving your bookings and revenue, right? So that is something that we see quite a bit. But yeah, I would say that, and combined with the severe underpricing or overpricing. And
Gotcha.
maybe the other thing really is just the kind of set it and forget it mentality too. I think a lot of people still feel that, once you plug into Price Labs, you're good to go. All right, and that can't be further from the truth.
Yep, 100%. Um, is there anything that you've seen with your own portfolio that you do very differently now than when you first got started? Or I'm sure there's many things, but any that stand out as like, when we first started, I had a belief about this, and now my belief is different, or we've changed the way we do something a decent amount from when we first, started running our portfolio.
Hmm. That's a good question. Hmm. I can't really think of anything specific, but I think just in general, and what I tell people as well who are newer to the industry is that, the short-term rental operation world has a pretty steep learning curve. It's not rocket science, but it does have a steep learning curve in that there's going to be a lot of situations that you're not going to know how to handle until you have to handle them. Whether it's, just through dealing with the guest or, maintenance issues or, just various things that come along. So, yeah, there's been various things that, mistakes that I made on handling things in the beginning, and, you know, uh, and even in the very beginning, I remember specifically, like I was talking about just a few minutes ago, the pricing. I mean, when I first, when I had that very first listing, trying to figure out how the heck to price it, because, you know, me being, I'm a very frugal person, and so I was thinking, my goodness, like, there's no way I would pay that to stay here, so why would somebody else pay that? And so you kind of undersell yourself. So you got to kind of get over that, if you're that type of mentality, you got to kind of get over that and just understand what does the market bear, not what would you pay.
For sure. Did you join any groups or masterminds along the way, or what was your like path on figuring out the learning curve, or did you just get a bunch of units quickly and then hard knocks, figure it out, have those weird situations, Facebook groups?
Yeah. I didn't join any masterminds or coaching programs or anything. I did lean heavily and connect heavily in Facebook groups with other investors, and that's something, again, when I'm doing my coaching, that's something I highly encourage everybody to do. Like, that's probably one of the biggest resources and best resources that you can do is join Facebook groups in whatever market, and even nationally, but specifically whatever market you're in, of other short-term rental owners and investors. I mean, just to network, bounce ideas, look for solutions, get referrals, provide value. They are a tremendous resource. So I leaned heavily into that. And yeah, the other part was just the hard knocks. I mean, like I said, we bought that first one, and then actually once that closed, we immediately bought two more. And then a few months later bought another one. And so it was, learning on the fly. Of course we did, lots of reading on it, podcasts, all that stuff as well. But again, until you actually get into the mix of it yourself, the book knowledge only goes so far, right?
100%. What are you thinking about for the next year, like 2025? How do you set goals, or do you not think about it like, we need to hit this by this? Is it just keep doing what we're doing, or are you a goal setter? Do you have goals? How do you think about it?
Yeah, I'm not as good of a goal setter as I should be. More so, my plan and my strategy for this coming year is it's kind of a threefold. One is, continue along the path of progress in, building out the team, like I touched on before, to, get me more so into that CEO role more than anything. Which, at that point, that's going to kind of give me that bandwidth to start focusing on, the bigger picture, goal setting, those types of things as well. The second prong really is to focus on building out the co-hosting and revenue management side of things more. As I mentioned, it's all been just organic growth, no marketing or anything at that up to this point. So that is going to be something that we're going to start moving more heavily on. I feel there is and going to be a continued increasing demand in those parts of the industry. I just see as things continue to get more competitive, more people are just going to be looking for help. It's pretty clear out there already. People need help. It's not the same game it was even a couple years ago. And so a lot of people that got in with different expectations are finding out the reality is not quite what they expected. And so I just foresee a lot more people looking for co-hosting, looking for revenue management, and that side of the industry, having a lot of demand. So we're going to focus more on that. And then the third prong of things is from our personal acquisition side. We are actually looking at branching out now into the commercial space. So we're going to be focusing our personal acquisitions in the commercial space while we continue to grow out the co-hosting and revenue management business.
Got it. That's cool. Is it any type of specific commercial building you're looking into, or any type that kind of meets your buy box?
Yeah, the main ones that we're looking at right now are RV and mobile home parks and assisted living facilities.
Gotcha. I saw also you work with Brandon Turner. Is that connected to that in any way, or what does that look like? How'd you guys start working together?
Yeah, no, it's not connected to that, but yeah. So I had, like I mentioned before, I had started doing some individual coaching and consulting, just one-on-one. Again, just kind of organically. And then through, I had joined Brandon's mastermind. Was it last year or the year before? His Better Life Tribe mastermind, and kind of through that, I'd got connected with a new coaching program that Brandon was starting called the First Deal program, which, just like it sounds, is for helping people get into their first deal, and whatever asset class it may be. And so, yeah, I signed up, and joined that team. Mm, I think it might have been towards the end of, yeah, very end of last year, I think, uh, and as a coach. So that's been fun. It's set up just like I said. It's geared towards people who are new or newish to the real estate industry in general, and are looking to get their first or next investment. And what's kind of nice about it is that they have different coaches for different niches. So me, of course, I'm more so the short-term rental guy on the team there. They've got people, dealing with syndications. They got people dealing with, residential, creative financing, fix and flip, midterms. So people can come in and kind of explore a little bit of each of those, try to figure out what's going to be the best fit for them, and then get more personalized guidance from someone who's an expert in that field. So yeah, so it's been fun.
That's cool. What is I actually don't use social media that much. What is Brandon up to lately? I have no idea.
Yeah, I mean, he's still doing his thing. Of course, he's got his big company, Open Door Capital, which is still continuing to. I mean, they're just still acquiring lots of stuff. They've released a few different funds, investing in all sorts of things, multifamily, mobile home parks, um, lots of different things. So he's still continuing to do that. Like I say, he's got the mastermind. He's got the coaching program that he just started now. So he's still got his hands in everything.
Got it. Cale,
Yeah.
it's been awesome catching up, man. I feel like you're very modest, but you're doing a lot of awesome stuff.
Yeah.
Business seems like it's really going in a good direction. So, what's the best way for people to check you out, follow you, connect with you, get in touch?
Yeah, sure. So I'm on Facebook. You just look up Cale Delaney. If you're into short-term rentals, I'm probably in the major short-term rental Facebook groups. Instagram at Cale_Delaney, and yeah, those are really the best ways to find me. If you are interested in any of the coaching or anything like that, you can reach out to me, and I can steer you in that direction as well.
Cool, man. Really appreciate you coming on, and look forward to seeing you continue developing and progressing, and maybe we link up in Medellin or Palm Beach in 2025.
I know, man. That would be nice.
All right. Appreciate it, Kale.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.